Hello to all of you viewers of The Pioneer. We continue to bring you the most important developments in the turbulent atmosphere of the war. The events of recent days show that the war is intensifying not only on the front lines, but also on the psychological and strategic level. Conflicts are no longer confined to the front lines where troops are facing each other. The parties are developing new methods and tactics to change the course of the war. In particular, Ukraine's recent offensive sends critical signals about the course of the war. This attack was much more than an ordinary offensive. The targeted area was a strategic command center known as one of the main pillars of Russian military power. Ukraine, which has generally remained on the defensive in the long-running war, has now begun to undermine Russia's perception of its security by making effective moves on enemy territory. This development shows that the war could have major consequences not only on the physical front, but also on the psychological and political dimensions. This attack, which reached deep into the Russian interior, revealed a significant security vulnerability for the Moscow administration. This operation, which exceeded the limits of Ukraine's military capabilities, revealed serious weaknesses in Russia's internal defense lines. While Kremlin officials have been quick to issue statements to contain the repercussions of the incident, they have been trying to make various measures to minimize the impact of the attack on the population. However, it seems that these attempts will not be enough to ease the shock caused by this Ukrainian attack. The political and psychological repercussions of this attack are as profound as its military dimension. Since the beginning of the war, Ukraine has mostly been fighting a defensive war within its own borders, but now, by carrying out effective operations on Russian territory, it is sending a clear message that it is beginning to exert military pressure not only on the front line but also inside the enemy country. What impact this will have on the Russian military and political leadership will become clearer in the coming days. Let's take a look at the developments together. But before we get into our report, a quick reminder. The Pioneer team is definitely real. None of my team members or me are artificial intelligence. Even though AI is very advanced, it's still not as good as us. By the way, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our daily reports and explanations. We do read all the comments you leave on our videos. So please continue to share your ideas about our content. Tell us in the comments what content you'd like to see on the Pioneer channel. And now let us begin if you're ready. The Pioneer reports. Since the beginning of the war, Ukraine has resolutely continued its offensive against Russian-occupied territories and critical military targets across the border. At the center of Kyiv's military strategy is disrupting the Russian military's management of the war by targeting its chain of command and logistics lines. Most recently, a series of operations in the Kursk Oblast region have once again demonstrated the extent of Ukraine's offensive capabilities and Russia's defensive weaknesses. These attacks, especially targeting Russia's command centers, have significant consequences that can affect the course of the war. Successful operations against command centers directly affect the coordination of the Russian army on the front line, weakening the organized mobility of the troops. Instead of remaining on the defensive on the battlefield, Ukraine is pursuing a proactive strategy, focusing on infiltrating the enemy's internal lines and disabling, that is, its combat management centers. On Monday, a high-precision airstrike by the Ukrainian Air Force targeted a Russian command center near the village of Novoivanovka in Kursk Oblast. According to a statement by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the strike resulted in large-scale destruction of the command post and heavy casualties among the Russian soldiers inside. Ukraine emphasizes that it pays particular attention to prevent civilian casualties when planning such attacks. Kyiv says that the attacks are directed only against military targets and that the operations are conducted in accordance with international law. This approach reflects Ukraine's efforts to boost, that is, not only its military achievements, but also its support among the international community. Just a few days before this attack, Ukrainian troops launched an operation against another Russian command center in Rilsk, Kursk. This attack, which took place on Friday, reportedly targeted not only Russian military officials, but also officers from North Korea. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said after the attack, "A powerful operation was carried out by our army. They attacked the central command center in the Kursk direction, and they lost key officers of Russia and North Korea." This development shows that Ukraine is trying to send a message not only to Russia, but also to Moscow's military partners, striking a blow to Russia's military cooperation with its foreign backers has become an important part of Ukraine's war strategy. The developments in Kursk demonstrate Ukraine's determination to expand its operations inside Russia. Kyiv aims to disrupt the Russian military's war management by increasing cross-border attacks that could turn the tide of the war. The vulnerabilities in Russia's border regions are becoming increasingly apparent as a result of Ukraine's drone and missile attacks. In particular, the Kursk, Belgorod, and Bryansk regions have been subjected to intense Ukrainian attacks. The increasing number of Ukrainian airstrikes is forcing Russian military authorities to increase their defensive measures. However, it is observed that the defense mechanisms developed by Russia against these attacks are insufficient. Despite Moscow's efforts to deploy new air defense systems, Ukraine's advanced drone technologies and mobile attack tactics continue to penetrate Russian defensive lines. Ukraine's military operations in the Kursk region have not been limited to ad hoc attacks. On August the 6th, following a large-scale operation, the Ukrainian army announced that it had taken control of an area of nearly 500 square miles. This was one of the largest Ukrainian operations on Russian territory since the beginning of the war. Since then, Ukrainian forces have reportedly maintained their positions in Kursk and continued to strengthen their military presence in the region. Although the Russian army is making intensive efforts to retake the lost territories, Ukraine's resistance in the region has not been broken. Kyiv is trying to keep the initiative by not only strengthening its defense lines, but also by launching new cross-border operations to disrupt Russia's offensive plans. What do you think? Do you think Russia will be able to liberate Kursk from the Ukrainian army? How do you assess the Ukrainian army's critical offensive? Let us know in the comments. We read and care about your points of view.